Hi, Open Noters! Welcome to the Fort Collins Symphony's Open Notes podcast, where we enrich lives through classical music. I'm Norman Manzales, the Marketing and Community Engagement Director, and with me is my co-host, Alyssa.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Rago, the Education and Patron Development Director. In this podcast, we'll look behind the scenes of the professional music world and explore why music is for everyone. Today, we're thrilled to welcome internationally acclaimed marimbist Ji Su Jung, who currently teaches at the Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia and the Peabody Conservatory in Baltimore. She was the first percussionist to win the Avery Fisher Career Grant, and she will be performing Kevin Puts Marimba Concerto with the Fort Collins Symphony. Ji Su, thank you for being here. We're so honored to have you join us.
Where are you calling in from, Ji Su?
I'm in my house in New York.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, Alyssa and we have never actually met you in person before. I actually got an opportunity last year where I got to play the Kevin Puts Marimba Concerto with you in the Wyoming Symphony. And
Oh,
yeah, and so I'm really excited to see you here and now playing it with another orchestra that I'm a part of, which is the Fort Collins Symphony.
wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a small world, so this is really awesome to get to speak to you in person. Um,
Well, first of all, great to have another opportunity to play with you. That's really amazing. It happens quite often, actually, more than you would imagine. It's like sometimes like people just like jump into me like, "Oh, hey, I was in this city and I played in the orchestra," and I was like, "What?" And then that happens to be in a different orchestra and stuff like that. So it always is so great to hear people. But my family, they're lovely people. My both parents are not professional musicians, but they love music. They always listen to music, and in my house, it was always music surrounding us. And I say that a lot, but I grew up with listening to different genres of music also, and
oh, wow.
jazz, like pop songs, or old Korean pop songs, or a lot of classical music. And
Did you have any other siblings that you listened to any of this with?
I do. I have an older brother, and he used to play cello also.
Oh,
He
wow.
was a musician until at the age of 10 or something, he just decided that he can't practice. So we just decided that, okay, well, then you can't do this.
Like he didn't want to practice or
It
some
was
life-altering event happened.
No, I think he just was having like that it's hard to practice. But me, it was just really fun to practice all the time, and so it
Mhm.
was easy decision for my parents to kind of like, get rid of one in the family to do the music. But it's my family is just very unique, but in a way that it's super passionate people. So if you are into something, then they really just were able to support and pursue for us. So yeah, I would say that I was always surrounded by music. I still remember waking up to go to school when I was like fifth grade or something. I would hear Mozart Piano Concerto number 21, and that's the alarm sound.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah, it was quite peaceful, right? It's kind of impossible for parents to do that, but we would just wake up with Mozart, and then that means it's time to go to school. So remembering this memory is just kind of like so peaceful and therapeutic in a way.
Well,
Yeah.
outside of um, classical music, because it sounds like it just was a natural integration in your growing up, were there any other memories that you felt like influenced the way that you think about music or approach music?
Well, I did a lot of different things when I was young. Not to mention, I also did ballet a little bit. Had nothing to do with my music necessarily, but it happened to be very important sources for me because the instrument itself is very physical, and
Mm.
you need to know how to move your entire body to be able to really play the instrument well. So it turned out that it was really kind of great source for me to have, but back then it was just really painful.
Did you do point?
I did
Oh, that
everything.
was,
I did
oh,
splitting, pointing, and stretching hours a day, and that didn't last long, but that definitely is a helpful material right now.
so how many years did you do that before you decided, marimba was the thing?
I mean, that was just very kind of small period of my lifetime, and
Okay.
I think I did that for 2 years when I was, I don't know, 7 years old or something,
Hmm.
um, to correct my posture and stuff. And then, but then the marimba or the music was always kind of more serious for me. I played it with piano first when I was 2 years old, and then soon after, when I was three, I was introduced to marimba. So everything was a lot for me at that age. But the core wasn't actually going anywhere. I think I knew that I wanted to do music more seriously than anything else. So everything else was kind of just there to entertain me or my parents, probably.
I have a question about just about you as a person. How would you describe your personality? And I mean, obviously, you're still playing up till now, so there is a fit, but what aspects of your personality do you feel like has helped you in your career and like your growth as an artist with the instrument?
Hmm. It was a hard career path, obviously, because being a performer is one thing, but being a soloist is another thing, right? You have to put certain attitude and mannerism on the stage. I think I was always kind of bubbly and giggly kid when I was younger and kind of like happy and bright kid, but then also at the same time I always had this kind of solemn, quiet, shy and it was like mixture of all those twos back and forth all the time. So at certain time of my life when I was younger, I really found that it was challenging because I don't know why I couldn't, be like other people on the stage. It's because I had this very introvert side also, but then whenever I put this extrovert side of myself, then it just was just blooming and just the most fun activity ever. It's balancing. I mean, now I found a balance, and now I know which side of me has to be turned on and turned off
Yeah.
and things like that. But definitely, it takes certain personality, I would say.
For sure. Well, I'm just curious, what is your zodiac sign? Because I am an just amateur astrology zodiac kind of person that likes to follow that. But I'm just curious because I always find that topic very interesting to show a little bit of the personalities
Oh,
with
interesting.
people.
Well, would you be able to guess, even though this has been only 5 minutes we've been talking to?
I would guess potentially Scorpio.
Hmm.
Maybe because the more introverted side speaks to me because they tend to be, much more quiet. But I could also potentially see you being perhaps like a Cancer because you're quiet and maybe more emotional.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure.
Well, now I have to study of those two signs so that I fully understand what those means. But I'm a Sagittarius, actually.
Oh, me too.
I was, that was going to be my third guess. Seriously, I wasn't just saying that, but Alyssa is also a Sagittarius, and we were just in the office the other day reading our charts, and it's very interesting because Sagittarius are known for being quite independent, and they're a fire sign, so they seek adventure a lot of the
Yeah.
time. These are all very, baseline things.
Yeah. Oh,
Actually,
no,
what you
but I
said.
think you are telling the truth. I have a very much a fiery side, and that is not getting older. Doesn't matter how old I am.
And what you said about trying to balance the more quiet side with the more extroverted side very much is familiar to me in terms of my own sort of musical journey as well. So
Yeah,
it makes
yeah,
more sense.
definitely. But I mean, that whole fiery side that was the ingredient that I needed to be able to get to where I am now. Because, the preciseness, but also like persistency and like really passionate about things that I care about. And that was always kind of helpful for me, I think, to have my career.
Oh, I love this. I just feel like I could be your friend. Actually, I'm gonna just say we're friends already, Jisoo.
Oh, yes, Norman.
We've already played together, so you have to be friends, right?
There you go.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
basically at this point, you're just following me around.
Ah, we won't
Yeah.
tell anyone.
It's okay. You can tell everyone.
Let's talk about your instrument, the marimba. For our listeners who are not familiar with the marimba, it's part of the percussion family, and you can usually see it in the back of the orchestra. Could you tell us a little bit about the marimba and how it works?
Yeah, I mean, marimba is funny. It's a funny instrument. It looks like xylophone, except it's just oddly really big. Yeah, I think a lot of orchestra music now has involved marimba in the backside of the orchestra. But this instrument's history itself is very short. It's probably about 60 years or so. And for marimba to be having the solo instrument and solo kind of career, I think it's very short, especially in a concerto setup. So it's originally coming from Africa, and the woods actually are still coming from Africa. It's made out with rosewood, and they're most beautiful and durable wood to be able to kind of make the sound this warm. I just say that all the time. It's kind of like playing an organ, pipe organ. You just basically make an attack, and then there is an air that goes through the tube, the pipe. So if you look at the instrument, it's wood parts, and then there's resonators made out with metal parts. So as soon as you make a contact, there's an air coming down to the pipe, and then that's how the instrument is resonating. But I would say that I mean, I love all these other instruments, and for me, I mean, I play piano, I play flute and violin, so everything is, very kind of intimate instrument for me as well. But I would say that it's definitely the most unique kind of instrument out of four. It has very much of warm human's voice in it. So every time when I play still to this day, I'm like, I just love this sound. It's just stunning, like how it just never gets old after this many years of playing. I'm lucky also to be able to, keep doing whatever I love to do.
I'm so curious now that you mentioned the flute and violin and these other instruments. At what level do you feel proficient on these instruments? Like, do you play them regularly or just for fun after, maybe a meal with some friends?
The level is exactly what just explained. I wouldn't be any sort of public situation. I would definitely not do that for myself or for you or any other people. But if I have an instrument right in front of me and if I had a glass of wine, then I'll play.
Okay, we are definitely friends now. Speaking of the marimba and the unique sound of it, I'm curious about your own marimba. Can you go into depth about what it's made of? Does it have a name? Do you travel with it when you are going to perform with different orchestras? What is it like as a marimba player who is soloing in different places for those audience members who just don't know?
Right, yeah, because it's really large and very difficult to travel with. To answer your question whether I'm traveling with or not, I don't travel with my marimba. It's she, by the way. It's
She, I love it. Does she
it's
have a name?
she doesn't have a name actually. I'd stopped myself from there. I almost did, and then oh maybe that's too much, Jisoo. And then I didn't give it a name, but it's she. She gets to stay home, and she's seeing all this beautiful view of the New York and be my safeguard to my home. She doesn't travel. I get to see and experience all different instruments whenever I travel. It can be exciting because some instruments are just exceptional, even though it's very old instruments. It's been always kind of fun experience. It's just like how pianists always find the piano at that venue whenever they have to travel. Marimbas have all the different dimensions actually. So different dimensions depending on different brands. So if you find different brands than what I currently use, which I am endorsed by Adams Music. So Adams is based in Netherlands. If I find the instrument from Adams, then most likely they're going to be the same dimension as my own instrument. But if I do different instrument company, then the dimensions are all different. So then I have to get used to it. So I always find that it is exciting, exciting experience.
Well, we know that you started playing the marimba at the age of 3, and I just can't believe that a toddler could reach a standard size marimba. Can you tell us a little bit more about that playing as so small, where if you see the standard size marimba, it's quite large. I'm just having a picture of a little toddler trying to hit and practice the marimba.
Yeah, certainly it doesn't work because you can't even hit the C probably from down there. I used to play this very small instrument manufactured by Yamaha actually, and it's the fourth third of the size. Right now, the instrument I'm playing is 5 octaves, so it's considerably smaller, and also the dimensions are narrower. So you could imagine the instrument basically looks like a toy in front of my instrument that I'm playing. On the other hand, my dad, made myself a stool that was made by wood, and he made me a little like a stool that has 4 legs, and then I would jump onto the stool to play, and then every time when I don't play, then I'll come down, and it will just be like kind of back and forth ritual. But then because of its wood, we would bring back to his factory back then and then cut a little, right, little by little, how much I get taller. So I could feel where I am with my height depending on how lower the stools was getting. So I still remember the day when I had to ditch the stool. I felt like I was adult, and oh my God, I'm finally big enough to not use the stools, and that was like very big day. It was probably one of my happiest days in my life.
I'm like, did you have a party?
I mean, party, sure, party for practicing 5 more hours after that was probably my party.
That's the life of a musician, I guess. I guess you knew when you were that young, like this is gonna be something special.
Yep, yep. I was so happy. I was like, playing extra because I was so proud of myself with being tall enough.
Jisoo, was it your idea to switch from piano to marimba, or was it one of your parents?
Oh no, my parents never really never was involved in terms of making choices. I mean, they always provided me options, but it was me. I literally told my mom, it's boring. I literally said it's boring. I don't want to sit down and I want to move around. So that was easy. That was a very easy choice for us to make. It's like great. Then I mean, I was always better at marimba than piano anyways. So it was very easy choice for me to do that.
Well, talking about a little bit about your parents and the fact that, you grew up in Korea, but now you're based here in the US, has growing up and living in both places influenced your own musical approach?
Definitely. I mean, throughout my whole musical life, I guess at this point, my entire life was my music life. I've met so many different and amazing people, whether that's my teachers or friends or having one of the most supportive families. I think, I mean, without the people who I met in Korea, definitely I'm not here who I am. And same thing, like when I moved here, I met my mentor, and definitely without him, I would not be here today. And I think I talk about two different places, how I was so lucky, and I just feel really grateful. And I think I just would like to take that as not granted every day. Like day by day, I feel thankful that I had those people in my life and still have the supports from those old teachers and friends in Korea and here in the States. So it's formed me as who I am, having two different cultures, and it's without those people, it's probably impossible.
So, speaking of teachers and influences and the people in your life, I wonder what would you say you got from each of those teachers? Like, was there one teacher who you really felt like you learned a lot about discipline and another teacher about spontaneity? What of your teachers did you get from each of them that has really impacted the way you play?
I had total three teachers in my life, age of 2 to I would say 15, and then 15 to 19, and then 20 to, yeah, when I finished my grad school. But I would say the core of their message was basically the same, just work as hard as you can and make the music sound great, you know. But the one thing I really kind of carry still to this day with me is the messages that I got from actually the young, very young version of me teacher, and then the most latest teachers, is just to really just deliver the music, because it's not about being perfect, it's about being communicated and connected with the audience. So that's always kind of ringing in my head, still to this day, and I try to do that every day, you know, when I make the music. And that's what I tell my students as well. Now it's impossible for them to thinking about everything when they're young, but one thing they shouldn't forget is just think about why are you doing this? Why are you playing? Why are you practicing? Because to not miss a note, then sure, that's good for a certain period of time in your practice level, but then beyond that, what comes next, right? Like you have to think about the bigger question, the bigger subject in your musical career. So I think that's very fundamental question for everyone.
Mhm.
Well, and you've thought about this question in many different, musical genres. You're a concerto soloist, a recitalist, and a collaborative artist. Among these performance styles, do you have a favorite?
It's really hard to say if I have a favorite. It's kind of like, I mean, I don't have my children, but I probably think that who's your favorite child at this point. It's it's different. It gives you different joy. It gives you different
Just
um
like children, I suppose.
probably. It's hard for me to say, but I assume so. It serves different messages to you, and it brings out different part of you. I wouldn't say that I have a favorite genre of my career, but definitely it's humbling every time when I do one or another. Every time when I go on the stage, whether that's for my concerto or recital or playing with groups or teaching, that's definitely very humbling experience. So I would say that they feed each other very well for now. It's something that I don't want to not do. It's something that I want to keep having in my life, that it can help me grow as a person and as a musician. And I know myself have so much room to grow still. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see how these other factors could, shape me a better musician.
Does one particular scenario, either the soloist, recitalist, or collaborative artist, make you more nervous than another whenever you're going into it?
Oh, definitely not being in an ensemble. Being in an ensemble for me is like going to shopping. It's I'm
Love
so
it.
excited. It's like, oh, fun. It's I get to play with my friends and this is gonna be, let's have fun. And I'm so excited to go eat afterwards with my colleagues. And that part is like it's like your, I don't know, entertainment in your
Hmm.
career and almost kind of guilty say that that's something that I do to make my living with. Concerto is I don't really why I get nervous for every performance because if you are not, then you're lying. And, you always have to feel until you're done performing, I think. But concerto is oddly, I feel very secure and kind of in peace. I think because there's a lot of different people that is sharing the same care and passion, and also I just love the whole company coming from behind me. It's everyone's caring so much, and the conductor right next to me is holding my hands, and we're holding together, and it feels very supported and kind of like not very scary at all. So you would think that I think my friends are asking me like, oh, how do you look like that? Like probably playing concerti is one of the most scariest things. But then to me, that's probably the least scariest things out of three. Weirdly, so they have obviously very different characters, but I
Sure.
very much enjoy sharing the stage with a lot of people and um,
Mhm.
kind of having the same goal because
Right.
that's the purpose as a musician.
So, do you have any pre-concert rituals or superstitions to help you get in the right headspace before you go out there and perform?
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't say ritual. That's probably too fancy for me. I always warm up before, like 3 hours before the concert, and then during that 3 hours, I make sure that I kind of close my eyes for 20 minutes or 30 minutes. It can't be more than 30 minutes because then I feel groggy. So sleeping is impossible, but it is helpful for me to kind of close my eyes and reset. And then I have to have something in my stomach, so I always make sure that I have either fruits or salads before, just for me to not feel like I am exhausted by performing around around the instrument,
Sure.
um, because it's physical. But I think that's it. Well, I guess another thing is I don't listen to any music. There's gotta be zero tune. That's just how I grew up. Every time when I would go to competitions or performance I have to play, I would only repeat my own music in my head. But if I listen to something else, then it seems like I'm getting disturbed, like my music is getting disturbed in my body. So I like to not mix up with anything. So I guess I spoke too soon about myself. I guess it is a ritual. I guess it is pretty
The
specific.
ritual, right?
Yeah.
The ritual is not having a ritual, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think I actually had it, but yeah, there's got to be no sound. I don't talk to any other people.
Mhm.
Um, and just kind of me time. I have to be alone and it's kind of doing the whole mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you had mentioned this earlier that you like listening to a lot of different genres and such. Is there any particular artists out there of different genres that you feel like are really inspiring you?
Oh, definitely. There are so many people. Punch Brothers.
Ooh.
I just can't explain how good they are, but they're one of my favorite musicians, Christy Lee. Uh,
Mm. Oh my gosh, so good.
yes, yes, very inspiring. And I actually just saw him playing a concert in New York. Um, I
Really?
it was, but yeah, he just played the whole Bach dedicated concert on his instrument, and it was amazing. Um,
I'll have to check that out.
Oh, definitely. I don't know if he's still touring, but he might, because it wasn't that long ago.
Mhm.
And Leon Flasher, I still listen to his recordings a lot, and I have his book that I read a few times, and it's something whenever I want to kind of get back into the core, then I reach to him. Just his music or his masterclass that he filmed before. Beatles, their songs are just again just
Do you have
kind
a
of
favorite Beatles tune?
I mean, I love Hey Jude. It's just very bright, but then
Mhm.
kind of peaceful. Like kind of be let you be in the center. Yesterday is always really good.
Same.
Um, who else? There's so many. There's so
Yeah,
many people. Yeah.
that's awesome. That's great. Let's talk a little bit about the Kevin Puts Marimba Concerto that you are going to be performing here in Fort Collins. For our listeners who haven't heard it before, could you give them some background on the piece and maybe some ideas of things to look out for when they come to that concert?
So this piece was actually originally written 25 years ago, I would say. It's been a while. When Kevin wrote, he was still a student finishing up his doctorate degree at Eastman. And I think it was some kind of a project that he was doing.
Mm.
And he wrote the concerto. He, I believe, recorded it, and then it was kind of quiet. Like for a long time, nobody really performed, and I actually had no idea that Kevin had a marimba concerto at Yale when I was doing my grad student degree. I had an opportunity to perform a concerto with the Philharmonia, and we were thinking, oh, what if we bring up Kevin again and kind of play that with the group because they sound amazing. So we revisited and then kind of tried to do with my amazing conductor, um, a student back then, but also my friend now, who's
Mhm.
assistant conductor at Milwaukee Symphony, Ryan Tani. He conducted, and then we played together, and it was so refreshing, and it's an amazing experience. Kevin and I worked together after that, after the performance at Yale. He said he would like to record at some point. So I said, oh, definitely, let's do that. So he revised the piece. Then he revisited after 25 years of not looking at the score. He revised and he fixed something, a lot actually, a lot in the orchestra part. And then
Cool.
now he finally said, I think it says on the score, it's final version, no more revise
Oh,
or
wow.
something. So it's definitely a final version of his this concerto. And then we recorded with Marin Alsop in Baltimore Symphony, and then the CD was released a couple of years ago. But it's actually, according to what Kevin says, it's something that how he listened to Mozart piano concerto a lot, and I think it's kind of resonating with me a lot just because I also listened to the Mozart concerto a lot when I was growing up,
Mhm.
and himself as a pianist when he was younger, I think he just really felt like bringing those kind of more ensemble instead of soloist and orchestra
Mhm.
was very kind of idealistic situation for this competition. So you will hear a lot of kind of interacting with the ensemble instead of like there's a solo movement and then there's an orchestra movement, right? So it's a very much a friendly family style of the music, which I love about. So you will be definitely hearing a lot of interacting, kind of conversation like what we're having now. So
Yes.
it's so friendly and lovely piece. It's so heartwarming, and yeah, there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of stories when you listen to it.
Yes.
It's very good.
Well, as a musician who has had the opportunity to play in the orchestra alongside you on
Yeah.
this piece, I also can't sing its praises enough. I had no idea that you had a hand in the revision process of the actual concerto, which is so cool. And I think the piece itself is so wonderful. And as you said, conversational, but also just so easy to listen to. I think for me as a flutist and also an orchestral musician, I love the fact that there's so many times where the marimba is interacting with the flutes or sometimes interacting with the strings or the brass players, and
Yeah.
you are really the protagonist in this particular work, which is why when I was sitting on our artistic advisory meeting here in Fort Collins, I just had pitched like, oh my gosh, I just played this amazing concerto, and I'm so excited that it actually got programmed and we could bring you here to Fort Collins. So, really,
Yay, I'm
really
so
awesome.
excited. Well, I'm so excited that how I feel about the piece is also how other people feel, because it's very important for me to perform something that I can really connect to the audience, but also the orchestra members, because I don't want to just play things that only makes me happy, because that's not the purpose of being a musician. So I'm always feeling like as if I wrote a piece. I always feel so happy to hear and so glad that people are on the same boat with me with the piece. But it's definitely easy to listen. It's something that is magical about Kevin's music. It's very genuine and pure and innocent and just alive.
Well, like we mentioned at the beginning, you're on faculty at the Curtis Institute and the Peabody Conservatory. Was teaching something you were always interested in, and or what was your path like to becoming a teacher?
Teaching was always in my life. I started teaching since I was, I don't know, I would say 12. I would just teach some, young kids and kind of just basically not teaching, but just share what I know and things. I wouldn't say that was teaching necessarily, but since I was always kind of around that environment, it was not my first choice or kind of rather to be my dream, but naturally it happened. I am very grateful because I learned so much about my playing from teaching, and someday I walk out from the room and thinking like I had no idea that's why I do A and B and C, or I had no idea you could do that also, or like there's a lot of realizations happen, and I really truly think that the teaching is not only for them, but it's also for you to learn about yourself and learn about the instrument and all the other stuff. So it's definitely a very humbling experience, and I think that it is very effective on my own playing as well.
Is there a piece of advice that you often find yourself giving over and over again?
I have a lot of advices, probably my students.
Let's start with just one.
I talk a lot to my students about things. But I would say be be genuine, like just be I mean, of course, as a human, you should be genuine, but as a musician too, you have to be open-hearted and genuine so that whenever and whatever you get to perform or share, that uh, directly is communicating with the people. Because if you're not a genuine performer, I really truly believe that that's not going anywhere. It could go a little bit closer to them, but you're not going to be able to grab someone's heart and make them feel like they experience something when they walk out from the stage. So um, that's something that I always, not only to my students but also for myself all the time, is just that just try to be as raw as possible, like open wind situation where like you don't cover with anything else, just let it expose and try to see what the nature do to you or the world does to you, and yeah, just be fragile and open and genuine, probably.
Well, in this world of AI and everything being generated and technology is so amazing, I feel like you could make that argument of like why music could never be completely replaced by technology. It's because of that authenticity and that human experience of trying to share, which you can't fake that. It's really
Definitely.
hard to generate that. And I think once the world figures that out, then maybe the human race will die, but hopefully that will never be the case.
I hope not. I do not hope that it happens, but I mean, I do agree. Like, I think a lot of things can be replaceable with tech, um, even though I'm not good at tech at all. Um, but if there's one thing, it's the human interaction. It's it's the heart to heart situation. Because if you have a heart, then the other person have a heart, and um, that's there to be able to feel and share the emotions. So that's definitely what only the alive things can do. So whether that's animal or flowers, because I know that they also speak in their own language.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's definitely a magical experience. Even um, I mean, my latest experience, I played something that I believe I was playing Bach, and the whole room was crying. Not that I tried them to cry. It was like it united us as one. It just kind of the whole room just become in the center of the room, and everyone could feel everyone's feeling and shared whether what difficulties that had in their lives or happiness they had in their lives, but it can be united. I think that's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, and why I want to keep doing what I am doing, because without it, it's a dead business, I think.
Do you feel like there is a life lesson you've learned from teaching or performing?
To be able to, I don't know, be thankful for like little things. For example, I would go to this small town, but I meet one of the most greatest people in the world. Then I am so lucky. Like I feel that makes me feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world. Or I would go to this other town and have a really great coffee in the coffee shop down the street, and I'm just thinking, oh my God, like this town is the best town and my job is the best job. And, like that energy carries to the performance. So I think just take every little things not for granted, and just, try to apply to your playing, and whatever that you're feeling, sensing is important, you know?
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can just tell, just based off of this conversation, Jisoo, that you are such a genuine and beautiful person who really takes the time to think and appreciate the small things. And I feel like by doing that, it just brings so much more joy to so many other areas in our life in addition to the music. And so even having this time with you to just talk, I think is so special because we have today. And even though this recording will hopefully live in our podcast forever and ever, we can look back at this time and just remember how awesome and special this particular moment is.
I'm so happy that you feel that way, and I'm so grateful that I got to talk to you both and to be able to visit Fort Collins very soon. I hope it's not so cold, but it's okay because I love Colorado anyways. But yeah, I mean, if we could give a little bit of joy, or not even a joy, but my goal these days is to make them forget what's going on in the world. If
Mhm.
that's gonna be for 30 minutes a day, then that's enough, right? That's enough time for them to forget about difficulties and everything else that's going on, and just share beautiful moment all together. So Well, thank you so much for this time to spend with me and inviting me to this podcast. And I can't wait to see you all in Colorado.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have you here too. And before we wrap up with some things, I just wanted to ask you, is there anything that you're looking ahead to in any projects or premieres or collaborations that you're excited about?
Hmm. Um, yeah, there are a couple things. I'll be having a European tour, so that is exciting, and we're still finalizing the locations of it, but it is exciting for me as a person who dominantly was having a career in the States. So I would like to be able to kind of start expanding a little more. So that is exciting. And just a few projects of recording and commissionings coming up. I will share those things hopefully by the point when I'm in for calling in March. But very excited, very grateful, very much of a lucky situation. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, before we close, we've got a few rapid fire questions for you. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, favorite piece to play on the marimba?
Kevin Puts.
Good answer.
Actually, that was the easy answer. No, but Bach probably will be the one.
Yeah.
Can never go wrong with Bach.
Nope, he's a weird person. He as if he really wrote for every different instrument. It works on every different instrument.
Hmm.
As if he knew what marimba was then. It just works perfectly.
If you weren't a musician, what do you think you'd be doing?
There are a couple things I could see myself interior designer or fashion designer, like those, or painter, like things that it's more creative, probably.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well, it sounds like you have some avenues and possibilities if marimba in the rest of the world doesn't take for some reason.
maybe. Yeah, maybe there I go.
Uh, okay, because I'm a foodie and you kind of touched on this that you like to eat fairly healthy when you're in performance mode, but what is your favorite rehearsal break snack?
Uh, I love food so much. It's very hard for me because whenever I'm touring or in performance mode, I don't try to eat everything. So I have to go on a certain period of diet. But if I could, I mean, yeah, holiday is definitely my kind of time to emerge. But I love Korean food. I love anything that is Korean. Japanese food. I love every different cuisines, but I love Italian, Indian food.
But you're probably not eating any of this food like at a break in in rehearsal, right?
Oh no, I do.
What? Oh my gosh, I think I might have met
Amazing.
my match.
Yeah, why not? I mean, if there's an option, then I do everything. I can do sushi, I can do barbecue, and
Well, when you come to Fort Collins,
yeah.
we'll have to connect
Oh yeah, yes,
at some
yes.
point.
Don't worry about me and my appetite. It's always there, and it's always a problem because I like to eat a lot. But yeah,
I
it's a
love
little bit
that.
of everything is everything. Yeah.
How about a funniest musical experience?
Funniest musical experience. I would say this is earlier on my career when I was younger. I didn't have uh write down specific brand of my marimba in my writer. So I showed up to the hall the day of the concert, and it was the marimba that I'd never played before, and that was double the size of my marimba that I'm used to playing. So I stunned and I was in denial mode, and I asked the orchestra manager, where is my instrument that I could play for the concert? And they directed the instrument that I'm looking at. And that was my probably funniest, but also the most scariest experience. And I mean, the concert was fine. I practiced for 3 hours, and then it was okay. But I would like to not have that experience ever again. And it's something one and done experience.
Yeah, well, I'm sure now it's funny, but in the moment, it's probably like horrifying.
And it was kind of smaller town too, so they wouldn't have access to different instrument if I asked to even. But yeah, it's funny now. But yeah, if I think of it now,
Well, Jisoo, thank you so much for joining us on our Open Notes podcast. It's been so wonderful getting to talk with you, and we really hope that you get to join us again on the podcast as well as in performance with the
yes.
symphony.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Alyssa and Norman, for this time, and I'm so excited to see you both and everyone in March.
Thanks for tuning in to the Open Notes podcast. We appreciate your support for the arts. We'd love to know what you want to know, so send your questions and suggestions to podcast@fcsymphony.org.
For more information on the Fort Collins Symphony, visit our website at fcsymphony.org. We can't wait to hear from you. Until next time,
Bye!
bye.